You are never alone. You are never alone. Just reach into your heart and Allah is always there. You are never alone. You are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to this afternoon's edition of Family Issues. We're live, so please feel free to give us a call at 0020238555249. As well, please get on Facebook, facebook.com/HudaTV. We have a very interesting topic with a very special guest, and we posted that topic on Facebook. So please post your comment, and we'll be reading those later in this edition, inshallah ta'ala. This topic, inshallah, today we will be speaking about the woman's role in obeying her husband. And of course, this is a very controversial topic. We receive this question and questions regarding this matter quite frequently on our on Ask Huda twice a week with Dr. Salah. So we thought we'd address it this evening, this afternoon as well, inshallah. And so the sisters don't turn off the TV and change the channel. We will be discussing also the husband's responsibilities towards the wife. Joining me to discuss these issues is a prominent Muslim scholar from Al-Azhar University. He's hosted many programs for us, including Universal Quran, which is appears frequently on Huda TV. A teacher and a professor and researcher at Al-Azhar University. Of course, I'm speaking about Dr. Mahmoud Dinawi. Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you for being with me.
Jazakallah khair. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Perhaps we can, before we speak about the importance of the woman obeying her husband, can we briefly speak about the responsibility of the husband towards the wife in order to keep the sisters involved and make sure they don't change the channel?
Yeah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم كثيرا. First of all, we have to understand that there are many responsibilities over the husband himself. Before we are talking about the role of woman obeying her husband, and no, the husband, he has some responsibilities. First of all, he has to provide her with good house, good accommodation, right? And he, for example, if she was living in a good, for example, level or her position or her family, for example, or he should provide her with the same life or a life which is close to what she used to live in.
Okay.
If she is, let's say she's from a noble family, for example, right? He can't take her to a poor area or to, for example, to an area which doesn't look like the place where she was brought up, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So this is the first thing. And the second thing, subhanAllah, some people, they misunderstand the word qiwama. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الرجال قوامون على النساء. What does mean qiwama? Qiwama means, it doesn't mean that you are, for example, superior to her, or that you have full control over her, or that you have, for example, to overpower her. No, you are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the Quran, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Deal with them gently, kindly, nicely, the same way as the Prophet ﷺ used to do with his wife. We know very well from different hadith that the Prophet, he used to help his wives in the kitchen, for example. If one of them was cooking, he would cook with her. If one of them would in need for something, the Prophet would bring it and all these things. So here, this is another part. He is not superior to her. He is not better than her, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talked in the Quran about even obligations, Allah made males and females the same, right? He says in the Quran, من عمل صالحا من ذكر أو أنثى وهو مؤمن فأولئك يدخلون الجنة يرزقون فيها بغير حساب. Any male or female who is doing righteous deeds and he is a believer, then he or she will enter paradise, and over there they will have the provision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is another thing. And the other thing is that he is to protect her against any harm, anything. He should, like working as a guardian, or nobody can approach her, he should do his best to provide her with protection, with welfare, with everything. Anyway, his job is, he should work hard for her own safety and for her own welfare and doing all these things.
Thank you, Doctor. But it seems like husbands these days, they do understand this verse as I'm in control of her, and as opposed to looking at perhaps understanding this in the light of the Sunnah and recognizing how the Prophet ﷺ dealt with his wives. Would you agree?
Yeah.
This is definitely a problem.
Yeah, the problem is, as I said, some people, they behave as if they are masters and wives are slaves.
Okay.
But some people, they say that it is a shame, for example, to help my wife to carry something for her, or to stand with her in the kitchen, washing dishes and doing all these things. But Lady Aisha, she reports that the Prophet, he himself, he used to be in the craft or job of his wives. What does this mean? He would cook with them, as I said. He was repairing his own shoes. He was cleaning his own home by himself. So is there anybody in this universe who is better than the Prophet? No, never. Nobody, even sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? Okay. So we follow his example. And the Prophet sallallahu, he was, Lady Aisha, she used to climb his back from here, and she would look at the people while they were playing. One day, people from Ethiopia, they were making some games or whatever, and the Prophet allowed her to climb this shoulder and to have a look at her. He, subhanAllah, in another narration, he used to race her. One time she won, and another time he won.
Indicating that he dealt with her in fun and in kindness. Okay, excellent. Because we do see people are taking advantage of it, so we want to let them know that they should look at the Sunnah of the Prophet to see how to behave. Okay, let's move on to a wife. How should she understand this when she hears that I have to obey my husband? Because now in this age of feminism and women's rights, that's the way that sounds. Women don't want to. Many women don't want to hear that. That turns them off. They say, no. Why should I obey my husband? So perhaps we can speak about that a little bit.
This is a very critical issue and a debatable issue also among people. What does this mean? She has to obey her husband anyway. She obeys him in something which doesn't make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala angry with her. She obeys him with something that she herself, she can't afford. For example, he can't tell her, you have to do this and do this and no, because sometimes she might be unable to do something, like for example cleaning the home. But by the way, she is not forced to do the cooking, for example. She is not, from the Islamic point of view, she is not forced to do the ironing for the husband. Right? If she is doing this is just a favor from her, right? But she can't do something haram. She can't allow anybody. She has to obey him here in this point. If he says nobody should come while I am absent, so nobody must enter, because this again is Islam, right? If she is disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she doesn't fast the month of Ramadan, right? He has to use his power, not beating or doing anything haram. No, he has to tell, you have to obey me, because here you are disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If she is not wearing hijab, he has to compel her to wear hijab, because he is responsible for her, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask him if she is disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has to do his best to correct her or to fix her if she is behaving badly or...
Okay, let's look at the reverse too, because we receive a lot of emails to women complaining about their husbands not behaving properly or not practicing Islam, praying and not fasting. So, and even husbands demanding that their wives obey them in doing something impermissible. So when does it become permissible for the wife to say, no, I won't do that? When does it become permissible for her to disobey her husband?
If the husband is doing something haram, for example, if the husband is neglecting his prayers, or if the husband himself is asking her to do something that will make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala displeased with her. Some husbands, unfortunately, they don't want their wives, for example, to wear hijab. Some husbands, he doesn't feel jealous for his wife. So it's okay for him that his wife, for example, might go or shake hand or laugh or might dance, doing something like this, or wears something that doesn't cover all her body, right? Or doesn't wear hijab. She, for example, would remove her hair and remove her scarf or hijab, and without wearing hijab in front of people, and this is haram. Right?
So if she does something that if he's commanding her to do something that is,
she shouldn't.
So she has the right to disobey him at that point.
Because it said يعني لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. She can't obey her husband on the account of disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or disobeying the sunnah, or being away from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Okay, thank you. I do see people, doctor, that come from certain cultures. They have this kind of impression that I should walk in the door to my home and dinner should be ready and the house should be spotless and the kids should be clean, and this is my right as a husband. But what you said, actually, that isn't necessarily the roles. So can you talk about it a little bit? Because myself too, we kind of always assume, okay, where's the dinner? Why isn't this clean? We put all those domestic responsibilities on the wife immediately, and we say this is your work. Is that true or not?
No. This is not my opinion, but this is the opinion of most scholars. She is not obliged to cook for you. She is not obliged to wash your clothes. if she is doing this, this is, may Allah give her the best reward. But the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the lady who is taking care of her husband and doing all these responsibilities or all these duties, she will be in paradise. Right? So if she is doing this, I have to say, well, the problem is that what happens is the action of some husbands themselves, which is bad. If his wife is cooking something, he doesn't even say to her, Jazakallah khairan, thank you very much. I know, I appreciate everything you do. But it's, as I said, it's automatically, he goes to home, he's expecting that everything should be ready, home is clean, and dinner is ready. And no, she because she's not a machine, she's not a robot. Right? You can, for example, just if you, as usually we say, a good word might, for example, affect the person too much. So if he says, Jazakallah khairan, oh, I'm coming after an hour, will you please, for example, prepare the food for me, prepare the dinner, and do all these things. Anyway, in both ways, she is going to cook something, because she is going to eat. So she will cook for herself and cook for you. But if you just speak gently to her, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, the verse I mentioned, وَعَشُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, then she's going to do everything. She might make the best meals, but if the husband's reaction is bad, don't expect that she's going to cook something good for you.
Yeah, of course. And if you can make her, if you treat her kindly, and she will make this food for you willingly, happily, and with love, instead of being forced to do it. Right? So it's a great point as well. So of course, what if in the process of this, the doctor, our wife cooks a meal for us, and it doesn't taste that great, and she says, "How's the food, honey?" And you say, "It tastes great," but it doesn't. Is it okay to say that?
That's right.
But we're lying a little bit there.
It's not lying.
I'll just give you the
because there are some cases that lying would be permissible. Like if there's a problem between you and your wife, and you can say, "Oh, you are great, and you're like a queen, and you made my life beautiful, enjoyable," and even if that was not the case. In the case, for example, of cooking, if the food was not okay, we say, Jazakallah khairan, this is the best, the best food I have ever tasted, for example. Even if the food, because the problem is, and I was giving a Friday speech maybe a few months ago talking about this, and I was just attracting the attention of the people to the Prophet's sunnah. The Prophet, when he was eating something, if the food was nice, the Prophet would eat it. If the food was not, he would leave it. Right? So if you find the food, for example, is not okay, you say, Alhamdulillah, it's okay, I don't feel very hungry, but don't say a word, a bad word to her, for example, because if she's not she did her best.
Encourage her.
She might, for example, maybe there is a problem with the quality of the food itself or whatever. Even you can take small part and say, Jazakallah khair, that's okay. Because, for example, I ate outside or I had some sandwiches or whatever, but don't let her down. Don't say, oh, you are bad. You never cook something good. You never always. Because definitely this will affect her psychologically. You can say, for example, even just good words, Jazakallah khair, but if you can make it a little bit, for example,
less
well done, or a little bit hot, but in a nice way. Don't turn the table upside down and doing all these things.
Of course. And actually, I don't know if it's true, doctor, but I always felt the home-cooked food from a loving wife, there's like a blessing in it, as opposed to many of us now we're eating at McDonald's and this sort of thing. And this is part of the beauty of marriage and having a loving relationship between your wife and husband, because we do see the marriage is give and take, because it's not one way, my way or the highway, as we see. But in the event that the wife, perhaps there's a dispute between the husband and the husband is in the right and the wife is wrong, and she refuses to obey him, what are the possible steps that he should do? Should he contact the local imam? Should he talk to her father? How can they resolve disputes in a peaceful and harmonious way and salvage the marriage before going, nowadays we get so many emails, I told my wife I divorced her 3 times and send her away, and then they make up a week later. And what are some steps we can take to resolve disputes in the event that she doesn't obey you?
The problem is you need to look for the main reason for this problem, right? The main reason, and subhanAllah, I received just a phone call a few days ago, a brother from an Arab country, and he was asking me about the issue, the same thing you said about the issue of divorce. He said, I divorced my wife 2 times, and that was the 3rd, and I was very angry, and I said, Akhi, subhanAllah, and if you listen to the Prophet when he said, when a man said to him, "Oh, Messenger of Allah, give me a piece of advice," he said to him, don't get angry. Never get angry. Right? Because what happens is someone is getting angry, and then he says, oh, you are divorced. So if you can keep away from anger, someone might say, oh, I am a human being, I'm made of flesh and blood, so sometimes I get angry. And I say, okay, if you get angry, why shouldn't you follow the example of the Prophet? He said, if any one of you gets angry, let him make wudu, let him make ablution. إِذَا غَضَبَ أَحَدُكُمْ فَلْيَتَوَضَّأ. Right? If you make your ablution, right? Because it said that anger is like fire, and fire would only be extinguished by water. So once you make ablution, right, you are going to a little bit cool down.
Yeah.
If you effort to rak'ahs, subhanAllah, I do that. Sometimes because families can never go smoothly 100%.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes you had a quarrel with your wife.
Yeah, of course.
So what happens is, if I have anything like this, alhamdulillah, I don't have, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. But sometimes, so I make wudu and bring the mushaf and try to recite some Quranic verses. That's it, subhanAllah, everything is and I made an agreement with my wife since, now I'm married for about 14 years, alhamdulillah. We made an agreement that the word divorce must never come to my home.
Yes.
Under any reason, I'll never say it. Right? So that's it, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
So, but some people, for a very little things or unimportant issues, he says to his wife, sorry, but in that case, first of all, he, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says in Surah An-Nisa, فَعِذُهُنَّ. The husband has to advise his wife, and he has to remind her, look, if I am angry with you, if I kept my angry and I have the right because you made so and so, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not be happy with you. As the hadith says, angels will curse the wife if her husband is angry with her, right? And she made him angry, or but if he is bad, for example, or whatever, this is not the case, right? So if in that case, he has to advise her, and then and other solutions like the issue of nushuz, when the wife is a little bit stubborn, she doesn't want to listen, she disobeys her husband all the times, so he can just sleep in another room, just leave bed.
And this is the I'm sorry to interrupt you. The psychological wisdom behind this is enormous, because the woman loves a man and she wants him to be with her. So by doing this, it's like a light form of discipline to show her your displeasure with her in a very peaceful and calm way. I think psychologically this is a great wisdom behind this, because the woman wants you. So you sleep in another room just to show her, look, I'm upset, we have a problem, we should deal with this problem. Go ahead.
And it's better also to keep, other members outside of this problem. He shouldn't talk to her family members or whatever, because it's going to escalate the problem. It will become worse. So such issues, I always say that issues between the husband and wife should never go away from the four walls. Should never, even if you have kids, in front of the kids, you laugh and smile and whatever. And if you have any problem with your wife, you can discuss this issue in private.
Not in front of the kids.
Because children definitely will be affected if the family is not stable. Children will not be stable as well.
Thank you, Doctor. And as the ayah continues, the non-Muslims, they always want to insult us. But we know from the Sunnah that the Prophet, and correct me if I'm wrong, Doctor, when he became unhappy with Aisha, he took his siwak and just tapped her on the shoulder. So people insult the Muslims and say the man has the right to beat his wife in this. But we challenge them to look at the domestic violence levels in the United States. When we see that our Prophet ﷺ just took the siwak, which is a small organic toothbrush, and just tapped her lightly with that as a form of like symbolic, displeasure with her. So I think it's a great point. Another controversial topic that perhaps we can address is something that we hear husbands quote a lot, and they take advantage of this perhaps or misunderstand it. And that is, they say, when I want to have an intimate relationship with my wife, she cannot say no to me at any time or any place, because the angels will come and curse her, and they kind of, this is what they believe. Is this a correct belief, or can you talk about this a little bit?
Yes. Anyway, the intimate relation itself, subhanAllah, what I say always about the beauty of Islam and the greatness of this religion, that subhanAllah, it even regulates such issues. The problem is, the husband, for example, even, subhanAllah, brother, look how the Prophet is handling this issue. He said that one of you, he wants to approach his wife sexually, he shouldn't behave like animals, but let there be a sign, a messenger. And the companion said, oh, what do you mean, Prophet, or messenger? He said, even let there be a kiss. Right? So the husband, for example, let's say the foreplay, which plays an important role in the intimate relation between the husband and wife, right? And I can't expect that my wife, is 24 hours ready for me, right? I'm coming back from work, and for example, it's evening, or my wife a little bit tired, so she was cleaning, cooking, taking care of the children, or sometimes, because this is something psychological, she might not be ready anyway for that.
So she's a human being.
And the problem is, sometimes we don't do this properly. Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him and with his father, he used to say, I would wear something like perfume, or would make myself beautiful for my wife, the same as she is doing to me. Right? So some people come out from out, for example, and he wants to come to his wife, and this is wrong, right? There are many steps, and then if she is fine, because she has the same desire as I have, but she might not be ready, for example, psychologically she is not okay, right? So I have to choose the best type. It's not she's, as I said, she is doing a lot of jobs at home, cleaning, cooking, and doing all these things, and at the end I expect her to be ready for me, for example. This is unfair.
And this attitude, actually, doctor, is reflected in, we're talking about marriage now, marriage problems now, but even before marriage, because I find a lot of Muslim youth, they're getting older and they're getting older, and I ask them, why aren't you married? They say, oh, you know, I can't find a girl, the family makes it too hard, and blah, blah, blah. And then when you come to find out, the guy, you know, he needs like a 6-foot American supermodel woman wearing niqab. Can you find me that? I said, brother, if I find one, I'll marry her myself. Because the men have become so picky and with the woman, and they expect her to be perfect in everything, whereas perhaps we're not taking care of our own appearance and presentation and our own selves as well. So I think that the men have to, you know, give the women a break in this regard. Doctor, I want to move to a different topic regarding fasting, because sometimes we see the woman is more pious than the man, or appears that way, or vice versa. So what if with a woman, she wants to do voluntary fasting and pray at night and this sort of thing, and the man, you know, he's not at that level? So does the wife have to take his permission, say, you know what, I'm going to fast on Monday, or fast on Thursday, or the white days, or I will be praying at night? Does she have to take his permission for this extra acts of worship, or that's between her and Allah?
If she wants, for example, to do voluntarily fasting or voluntarily prayers or additional prayers or of these, she has to take the permission of her husband. But with the obligations like the fasting of Ramadan, she doesn't need his permission at all. Because sometimes, subhanAllah, how about if he wants her, for example, if he wants to fulfill his desire with her, and right? So in that case, she has to take his permission.
I do see the wisdom in that, because of I do see the wisdom in that. People forget how important the husband is to the wife, and the wife is to the husband. Doctor, can you share with us the hadith, several hadith, when the Prophet, peace upon him, he said something to the effect that I didn't order people to bow down to other people, but I would have ordered the wife to bow down to the husband. Is that an authentic hadith? What does that mean?
When Sayyidina Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he came from one of the areas, and he was about to prostrate for the Prophet. The Prophet said, why should you do this? He said, because I saw some people, they prostrate for rabbis and for priests, and then the Prophet said, no, sujood is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if I was going to ask anybody to prostrate for a human being, I would just ask the wife to prostrate for her husband. Right? The hadith here, it doesn't mean that the husband is superior to, but it means about that he's taking care of her, and he is protecting her, and she is owing a lot to her husband, because of what happens is that the husband himself, he might lose his life because of protecting his wife. He might lose everything because he tries to protect her, because if there is any problem, for example, if people are attacking her, he wouldn't leave them. He is going to lose his life, because and for all such things, like the husband, for example, I'm talking about our situation in Arab and Muslim countries. Usually the husband is working day and night to provide his wife with welfare and protection and luxurious life, and doing so for all such reasons. So the wife here is owing a lot to the husband in that case.
Certainly, right? I agree. I think people forget the sacrifices the husband makes for the wife, because it is a tremendous challenge to provide for our families in this day and age with the increasing expenses and sort of thing. Doctor, many women complain to us via email. They say, look, my husband is over-controlling. In this day and age, I need to go out. I need to have guests. I need to move around freely. I can't be at home. You know, my husband is over-controlling. So let's start with this question. If the husband is not home and she is at home with the children, and she would like to have a guest, is it permissible for her to have a guest, a male guest with a female guest, if the husband is not home?
She can't do anything also without his permission. Why? Because he might have a kind of suspicion, for example. He might think bad about her, right? So she shouldn't allow anybody to come to, unless, for example, this is her brother or this is her uncle.
Yeah,
or
of
whatever.
course. I mean the non-mahram.
Yeah.
Like perhaps her friend comes with her husband.
Yeah.
No, because the husband's not home, so this will create a suspicion.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But if one of his maharim, like a brother,
Yeah.
uncle, or whatever, right, there's
Right.
no problem at all.
But doctor, can we say, people say, oh, why all these rules and these strict boundaries and guidelines? But can we say the wisdom behind this is to prevent suspicion and arguments, and this will prolong the life of the marriage?
Yeah.
I believe that, because I think people look at it as being strict, but no, this is actually to prevent confusion and bad thoughts arising in your mind. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. Usually, Islam, what Islam is doing, that Islam, it prevents anything even before it happens. Like it blocks all ways before evil comes. Like what? When Islam, for example, he said about brother-in-law, when a man said to the Prophet, O Messenger of Allah, what do you think about brother-in-law? He said brother-in-law is death. So
Yes.
what does this mean? Because many disastrous things might happen because of the presence of the brother-in-law if the husband is not at home. For example,
Yes.
I am in my home and I leave my brother, for example, I am at work and he's sitting with my wife. So what about
Disaster.
if something wrong happens?
Yeah.
What about if he did something wrong? So Islam here, it's not a matter, because what the Prophet ﷺ, he said, I have to listen and I have to obey I can't say, I'm sorry, I trust my brother. It's not a matter of trusting.
Yeah.
These are the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Exactly.
Right? I'm sorry to say it, let my brother get angry, but my main concern should be the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether my brother is angry, pleased or displeased, I don't care about this. What I care about is the pleasure of my Lord, the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the Prophet he said in the hadith, I don't care about anything as long as Allah is pleased with me. Right?
Yes.
So,
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, doctor.
yeah, so this is the main concern. I follow the instructions of Islam for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So once this hadith I applied, for example, Islamically, she is not allowed to let anybody, for example, enter home if she is not one of her mahrams,
Right.
to come with his wife or whatever. Because what happens is sometimes some people tolerate things that shouldn't be tolerated.
Yes.
Like having a chat, for example, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why, subhanAllah, Islam is doing all these things for our own welfare. It's not, subhanAllah, a barrier, or it's not something as controlling our freedom or whatever, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's not a matter of trust. It's a matter of us being human beings.
Yes.
So to prevent these bad things from happening, we should take certain precautions.
Yeah.
And I challenge anybody to see what the disasters that do happen in the Western countries regarding in-laws.
Yeah.
But this hadith in Arabic is, can you relate the hadith when the in-laws are death, or the brother-in-law?
Yeah. When a man said to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet said, beware of, is it called brother-in-law or in-laws?
In-laws in general. Hamu, yes.
The Prophet said, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْحَمُ, avoid or be careful about in-laws. And a man said, O Messenger of Allah, how about the in-laws? He said, in-laws are death. أَرَأَيْتَ الْحَمُ قَالَ الْحَمُ الْمَوْتِ.
Okay.
It doesn't mean death, but it means the disastrous, the catastrophes that would happen because of this. Right? Anyway, as you said, it's a matter of precaution anyway. And usually, what happens is, I have to give some priorities. My priority is to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to get the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then I follow the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When the Prophet says, for example, you should not shake hands with women, okay, I listen to the Prophet.
It's as simple as obeying Allah. Excellent points. And thank you for clarifying that, because there is a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings regarding the relationship between the wife and the brother-in-law or the sister-in-law. For some reason, the roles have become unclear, and we generally think now it's okay to mix with this person because now it's impermissible for me to marry them. But that's not the case, is it?
Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, okay, so this is definitely an issue. Doctor, many people in this modern day and age, they would say to you and me, they would say, listen, why not the reverse? Why are you guys so misogynistic, patriarchal? Why isn't it the reverse? Why is Allah saying in the Quran for the wife to obey the husband? Why isn't it the reverse? And this is something that I hear women's rights advocates say a lot. Can you briefly just maybe take a minute before the break to speak about that?
Yeah, because Islam, subhanAllah, Islam made what should I say? That the wife has some rights toward her husband, and the husband also have some rights toward his wife. So it's a joint it's a shared responsibility.
It's a team.
Right? Yes, that's it. Her duty, as I said, she has, as the hadith of the Prophet, he says that a believer gets nothing after fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala better than having a wife. If he looks at her, she will please him. If he is far away from her, she will protect his privacy, and she will not allow anybody to
be modest.
To do this. Be modest, as Jazakallah khairan, right? And she is a guardian over his secrets and over his money and doing all these things. Right? So here he has some rights to fulfill also. Right? He can't, for example, use his power. He can't do something that might upset her. He can't. The same thing. It's a shared responsibility in a way.
SubhanAllah.
Because also the husband can't be disobedient to his wife. How is this? He can't, for example, do something haram, or asks her to do something haram, or causing her any troubles. He is not allowed to do this. He is not allowed to beat her severely or in a painful way. The issue, and back, I don't want to get you back to the topic we were talking about. The issue of beating, as I said, the Prophet, he would use a siwak, something very little. It's a matter of a psychological punishment. It's not a matter, you shouldn't, for example, even if you are going to beat her, you shouldn't beat her in her face, because this is a big shame that you can do.
Right. So the Prophet was saying he had a little siwak and he touched her shoulder. Whereas if we look at domestic violence cases in the United States or Europe, I challenge anybody to look at those cases, and you'll see domestic violence between the man and the woman and the man. And, this is something that's unbelievable. Doctor, we're going to take a short break, okay? We'll be right back. You guys at home, stay tuned to Family Issues with Dr. Mahmoud and I. We're talking about the relationship between the husband and the wife and the husband, and why and how the wife should obey the husband. You guys stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Never alone. You are never alone.
فلا وربك لا يؤمنون حتى يحكموك فيما شجر بينهم ثم لا يجدوا في أنفسهم حرجا مما قضيت ويسلموا تسليما. There are 3 levels. Sister Rayhan from Bahrain.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fahim from Sweden. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Barakallah feek, Fahim. May Allah bless you and your family.
Sheikh, I have one question.
No, that is not allowed. Why isn't allowed? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man ghasha falaysa minna." He who deceives or betrays does not belong to us. He's not one of us. A person who is given the sadaqah or leading the prayer does not have necessarily to be praying fard. Maybe he's praying the nafl that is after the prayer, the 2 sunnah after dhuhr or after maghrib or after isha. And the follower, the imam, will be praying with the intention of offering the fard that he has missed. Okay, barakallahu feek.
Reading the Quran is a blessing. Understanding its translation is beautiful. But diving in depth and extracting pearls from it is simply amazing. Do they not ponder upon the Quran? Every week, inshallah, we will dig deep and reflect on the verses of the Quran one by one.
Quran in Depth with Sheikh Ibrahim Zaidan, only on Huda TV.
Never alone. You are never alone.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Family Issues. We're joined by Dr. Mahmoud and we were speaking about the relationship between the husband and wife. Thank you for staying with me, Doctor. Doctor, we posted our thoughts and our questions here on Facebook. We're going to read those comments, inshallah, that you guys have posted on the screen. We're going to put those on the screen for you now. There they are. This is via Yahoo, actually. Abdul Basit Kansaki says, if a husband has much desires and willing to marry another wife, but his current wife refuses him, what can he do to satisfy his desires? Does he marry hiddenly and secretly, or what? I'm waiting for your clarification. And we'll ask Sheikh Dinawi about that as well, inshallah ta'ala. Great. If the husband is not happy for his wife to wear a headscarf, should she defy him even if it causes arguments? Another question for Dr. Mahmoud, inshallah. Let's go back to these first two questions. Really, Abdul Basit Kanseki, I can tell by his last name he's from West Africa.
Yeah.
And a lot of Nigerian brothers calling in, they have 3-4 wives. I don't know what's going on down there in Nigeria. Yeah, I don't know how they pull it off, but...
So let's go to Nigeria.
I guess they're practicing the sunnah over there. They have 2-3 wives over there. Up in the United States where I come from and here in Egypt, it's really a matter of... it's not practiced by many, but it is practiced by few. So what he's saying is if he wants to marry another wife, should he inform her to do so beforehand, or what should he do?
If a person, for example, has got a strong desire and his wife, for example, doesn't satisfy her, then here he has the right, but he has to talk to her, right? He has the right to take another wife. If she is maybe, she has some health problems or whatever. Some ladies, by the way, they do not have... or they don't love this intimate relation in a way.
Right.
They think that it causes them some troubles or whatever. In that case, of course, this is right.
Right.
He has to take another wife in a way.
But I mean, even though he doesn't have to inform her, perhaps it would be wise to do so, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so it's better because anyway, if he is not going to do this through legal ways, he's going to do this through illegal ways.
That's the point.
So it's better for him to take another wife, just subhanallah, because some people, as I just said, they have strong desire or whatever, and for example, one wife might not be enough for him. So this is right anyway. And taking another wife, this is one of the practices in Islam, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah An-Nisa, Mathna wa thulatha wa arba'a, you can marry 2, you can marry 3, you can marry 4.
Right. And thank you, because people criticize us for that, being allowed to marry more than one woman, but this is a tremendous responsibility. If anybody was able to do that, people think it's like fun and games, have more than one wife, because they look at it from a masculine perspective. Oh, it's sexual intercourse with another woman, but it's a huge responsibility.
This is the problem, this is the point that most people raise now, for example, especially maybe in some Western or European communities, and at the same time, it's very rare to find a man has only one wife and he doesn't have extra affairs. He has only one wife, but outside he has so many relations.
Right, maybe he has 40 girlfriends, but no wives. So I don't understand it. But let's go to the next question. A great point, and I've said it many times myself. The next question was an interesting one. If a husband does not like his wife to wear hijab, can she tell him no? I think you already spoke about that, but perhaps you can answer it again.
Yes. Anyway, because as I said, there is no obedience for a man, for her husband, if this will lead to the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wearing hijab is obligatory. It's fard. No way. Right? So I don't know how the husband, for example, asks his wife to take off hijab. I don't know.
Right. And the problem is that he has to look in his heart, actually.
Yeah.
The problem here is with the husband, who he wants her to do something impermissible. So he should look into his heart and see what's the problem here. So a problem of like faith or something.
She has to warn him against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishment, and now we are going to do something haram, and we are responsible before. If he forces her, right, then he will carry the blame itself before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is sinful here because he prevents something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said it is obligatory.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. And we're going to take a look at some more Facebook questions if we can get those on the screen as well, because I think we have a long list of questions.
So I am doing fatwa and iqra, now I am doing fatwa here.
You can't get away from it because you do that, the fatwa show, now you're doing it here. Brother Hamza Oli says, how can a husband treat his wife if she is disobedient? Because most of husbands are used to physical punishment, and this allowed and forbidden. And Doctor, if I might say, a lot of this comes from the cultural practices in certain countries. Now he said about physical punishment. This is like cultural practice in certain countries. People think this is okay. I come from a Greek background, and I can tell you that this is okay in Greek culture from what I understand. It's kind of taken for granted. The dad, he can do physical punishment on the children and the wife. They think this is their culture. So we have the same thing in many Muslim countries. This is their culture. So he's saying, is there another way to discipline your wife besides physical punishments? What should be taken? You had mentioned that, but please, perhaps if you could mention it.
The problem is, subhanAllah, sometimes we refer our issues to what's called customs, taqaleed, or culture, or whatever. No! I have to forget all such things, and I have to remember just one thing, the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Lady Aisha, she said that the Prophet never raised his hand, never beat anybody, right? He never beat any of his wives at all, right? So even, subhanAllah, yani, look how the Prophet ﷺ was managing such things. One of his wives, one day, she brought him like a pot full of honey, and Lady Aisha, she just kicked the pot and it was broken.
Right.
And the honey was split down. And so the Prophet, what should he do? Should he beat her? No. He said, just your mother, means Lady Aisha, she felt jealous. Right. And that's why she broke the pot.
Right.
He didn't do anything. He didn't stand up and beat her and, for example, slap her and use some, as I said, physical punishment or whatever. Because at the end, what we need to remember is that woman, she is a human being. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored her, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Al-Isra, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We honored all human beings, sons and daughters of Adam. All of them, they are honored by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored, I can't humiliate. I can't, for example, beat. I can't, for example, the human being in general, whether a male or a female, is the structure, is the building, is the structure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made. So I can't even try to distort or harm or doing anything to this structure.
To disrespect. Thank you, Doctor. Certainly great point.
You're welcome.
We have some more Facebook questions. We'll get those on the screen now. And you guys also give us a call. We are live. If we can just scroll down a little bit there. After Hamza Ala, we have another question. If we could just scroll down a little bit there, inshallah. Nada Lehman Isaac says, if the husband is not happy for his wife to wear a headscarf, should she defy him? I think we did answer that, Sister Nadia. Thank you. Abdul Basit again. What are some of the circumstances that may force a husband to divorce his wife and vice versa? Brother Hamza also says, let's see, Titi Augusta rather says, what if the husband's treats his wife properly? Should we obey him, or she does not treat him properly? And Laulia says, my Huda TV question is listening to music. Okay, let's go back to the previous one. Or Zainab here also, someone, yes, if we can get that to stop. Zainab says, may Allah bless your knowledge. I have a friend whose husband doesn't allow her to use the khimar or hijab, but she loves to do so very much because she believes this is an injunction from Allah. What do you advise her to do? So the sister wants to wear the khimar, I believe it's pronounced in Arabic, which is like a modest long hijab, and her husband doesn't like that. So what advice can you give the husband, doctor, in this case?
I just say to this husband, Akhi, you are responsible before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your wife, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will question you about her. If you want, I don't know, the Prophet, he said that the Muslim should be a little bit jealous. I don't know how could he allow his wife, for example, to not to cover her hair and doing all these things. As a Muslim, right? You know very well that this is what the Prophet said and what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, and doing all these things. So he has to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this issue. And as I said a few minutes ago, that the wife herself, she should use nice words and just try to remind him of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishment, and remind him of those people who disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and about the destiny that's waiting for them, and doing all these things. And subhanAllah, I myself, I always say that the lady, when she subhanAllah wears hijab, she becomes more beautiful than the lady who, with my due respect, of course. I'm not, for example, undermining it, but I say that hijab is a fard that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned in the Quran, and we have so many hadith that talks about it.
It actually beautifies the woman, because it's modest. Being modest is beautiful, but in this day and age, unfortunately, the opposite has become true. The modesty is beautiful, to be modest and to cover.
Subhanallah, even I'll tell you something else. Look at old pictures in churches for Virgin Mary, peace be upon her. For Virgin Mary, old pictures, she is wearing hijab. You can never find a picture for her without wearing hijab. In Judaism, hijab also is there. So,
And doctor, and the sisters have enough problems and challenges to wear the hijab, because the society depicts women with their hair down and in small clothes. The last thing she needs is her husband to come and tell her not to wear it as well. So I think it's very difficult. We're going to take a look at some more Facebook questions you guys have posted for us. Brother Munir Muhammad Ibrahim, what is the stand of a woman that her husband has? Okay, he's talking about, doctor, the issue of sexual intercourse when the husband would like to fulfill his desire and the woman is not ready to do so. You answered that, I think, very well. Muzali Kanu Abu Bakr, what are the duties and responsibilities of the wife to her husband if the husband is not that, is not practicing, we can say. Yeah, okay. A great question. Ahmed Mohammed says, let's see, for Islam does not, let's see what he's saying here. He has a long, thank you, brother. He has a long quote. Let's move down the yes, we have another one here. What are the duties of a wife that she should do to show her husband she's obeying her? Does a wife go to Jannah if her husband is happy with her, or does she earn hellfire if he is displeased with her? Great, Sister Sabrina. Is this a hadith? Is it true? The sister is asking, if I displease my husband, will I end up going to hell because of this? Where do they bring this concept from?
Yeah, there is a hadith says that the lady, for example, who obeys her husband and doing all these things, she will be in paradise, of course. Right?
Okay.
But it depends on because as you just mentioned, sometimes husbands themselves, they are bad. So if the husband is bad, for example, no, the wife, why should she go to hellfire if the husband himself is disobedient? But if she disobeys him in something, as I said, in salah or whatever, she is not practicing, then
right. So but we have to take care. A righteous woman should look for a righteous husband.
Yeah.
Because if a righteous woman
Jazakallah khairan. This is the best thing we can say now. The Prophet ﷺ, he said in the hadith that usually when we choose the husband, for example, as the hadith says, in ja'akum man tardawna dinahu, if one comes to you while he is religious, so give him your daughter to marry. And in another hadith also, the other side, he said that the lady is getting married for 4 things, for her status, for her family, for her so and so. But at the end of the hadith, he says, فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرِبَتْ يَدَكْ, marry the one who is religious, otherwise you are going to be a loser.
Okay.
So anyway, it's I would always recommend people who are about to marry, right? The first night, the first day, you have to make a kind of agreement, for example. Everybody should know what's for him and what's against him, and she will know what's for her, what's against her, right? If you can make this agreement, then you will lead a very happy life. But to leave things without clarification, without everyone should know the responsibilities, the duties that he or she must fulfill anyway.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Hassan, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I think the sisters here have a great challenge. And if we can go back to speak about the hijab, you know, in this day and age, the media, TV, music, movies, they constantly show attractive women wearing revealing clothing. So what happens is many men, they become bored with their wives. They don't think their wives are pretty, so they want her to take off the hijab. So isn't it important to remind people, hey, you guys, when your wife is in public, advise her to dress modestly.
Yes.
When you're in the privacy of your home, that's your wife. She can dress in any kind of way she wants and be sexy for you and beautify herself for you. The point is to beautify yourself for the husband, not for the public. Isn't that the point?
Yes. Many, and this is wrong, because the Prophet ﷺ, he says that the one who doesn't feel jealous for his wife, right, so is in fire. What does this mean? Some husbands, and may Allah guide them to the right path, he said, okay, you have to look perfect, you have to wear perfume and doing all these things and wear something tight because I'm going to do business or whatever, and I like people. The worst is that some husbands, they are happy when someone is praising his wife. He says, oh, your wife is gorgeous, she's a queen, you know, she's very happy, she loves, and I don't know what kind of men are those.
Right, it should be the reverse.
Yeah. And outside, she should wear modesty. She shouldn't put perfume or whatever, because this is only allowed for her in her home. But outside, no. That's not permissible anyway.
Okay, and we have to remind also the viewers, perhaps the women say, you know, that's really tough, you know, I like to wear perfume and I like to go out. But the purpose of it is you're giving up something for the sake, Allah has commanded you to not, the purpose of this is what? To not appeal to other men.
Yes. She can do what's called like deodorant, for example. Right, something that like to get rid of the sweat, but there are some perfumes that would attract the attention, that would draw their attention, or that would appeal some people, or might, for example, a kind of seducing them, right? And anyway, so as we agreed from the very beginning that Islam is blocking always. Subhanallah. How about if someone smells a nice perfume, he says, Allah, oh, this is great. She's gorgeous. She is, and then he will think about her and doing this and doing that, and so Islam, subhanallah, Islam prevented this issue from the very beginning, from the root. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, you can't find a verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't commit adultery. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't approach anyway that will lead you to adultery. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what happens, why, for example, some husbands, they don't feel happy with their wives because all the time he is looking here and there and looking at the TV models and these things. He doesn't listen to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. Let believing men to lower their gaze. When you see a lady, for example, say, Astaghfirullah al-Azim. No, I'm not going to listen and I'm not going to lick, and because this is haram. And
because once your heart becomes black and damaged, then nothing will please you. If you keep looking at women in the street and on TV, how can you expect your wife to? Yeah, thank you, Doctor, for your time. I certainly appreciate it. I look forward to having you next time, inshallah. Thank you so much. That was Dr. Mahmoud Dinawi from Al Azhar University. We certainly appreciate his time, and I certainly hope you enjoyed this program as well. Please follow us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/HudaTV. And you guys, we look forward to seeing you next time. So until then, I leave you in the care of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alone, you are never alone. Through sorrow and through grief, through happiness and peace, you are never alone. So now, as you long for your past, prepare for your future, but knowing nothing's gonna last. You see, this life is but a road, a straight and narrow path to our final abode. So travel well, O Muslim, and paradise will be your home. And always remember that you are never alone.